Hey everybody. So we're moving down this path, this detour of getting all fixated on the tabbing and the routing, and trying to sort of thread the needle and get it to where, when you to where we aren't destroying all of the components as we move from route to route, but that the tab is showing the right component at the right time, which is typically not what you'd want in a sort of an enterprise um, solution. So like the way routing is working is probably exactly what you want if you were in an enterprise, a large application. But since this application is not going to be that big, I would rather have the performance and the not having to sort of rebuild everything and deal with sort of the problems that come with that. Um, anyways, so I think we got all the pieces working, and then we got a big mess, right? Because I was working with something I didn't really understand, so I had to put like a bunch of console logs and things like that. So since I don't have a whole lot of time today, I literally just finished changing the brake pads on my car, and since I don't have a lot of time, I'm going to just clean up the code and commit it, put it in sort of a place so that we can see the new things. Because right now it's just a mess. With that said, that's what I'm going to do. The first, I guess, we might as well go over these things in order. If we look on this part, this link, it kind of tells us everything that we've changed. So, and it shows them in alphabetical order. I guess that's as good a way as any to kind of deal with this stuff. So I think for now, I do want to keep this URL up here. It's definitely going to not going to be there in the end. In the end, basically, this API will trigger this uh, tab to change. And that is going to be a challenge into itself. You know, like I say, oh, it's just going to do that. No, it's probably not going to be as easy as that. That's probably going to be the full subject of tomorrow's video. Um, but it is the next step. Okay, so I don't mean that it's easy, but it probably will help as we're working on the next step to have that. So I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to leave this as is, and I'm going to commit it as is. Uh, this is definitely what we want. That's what adds the spacing in here. Actually, we won't even have these when we're done. Um, so I guess I'll just leave that too. Man. Okay, so here's where we pull in the location. We definitely want that. That's where we pull in the mat module. Um, we're going to need this change listener. What does on destroy do? Okay, so yeah, so we definitely need that because that's what does that. Looks like the only thing we really want to get rid of is this console log, and we probably want that um, comment for tomorrow. Um, we definitely need this stuff. So there's nothing. Okay, so for now, I think we need this routes stuff. It'll be interesting to see if we need to get, I don't know, is the component a required field? It is not. Okay, so I'm gonna do a quick experiment while we're here. So if I move these things, okay, and I think that makes sense. Let's save this. Yeah, something broke. And it doesn't surprise me. Who knows what the error is? I just want to read the error. Valid configurator logs. Okay, so it's telling us that we have to either provide a component, tell it to load a component, tell it to redirect it, give it another list of routes or that. So something. So while component is not required, something is required. So I'm probably gonna have to. It's probably in my best interest to create like a dummy component that will be displayed in all of those. Um, so so that's good to know. Next, API indicator. Okay, so we definitely don't need this console log. Um, Basically, I just had that for debugging, and then so I would know when it was destroyed. I could look in the console and know when it's destroyed and when it's not. We definitely don't need this on destroy anymore. So that means we don't need to implement it. And we don't need to import it. All right, discrete. And that, I guess, yeah, that is fine. It's weird. All I have is a, I guess I don't need that. I don't, guess it's going to be less confusing of a commit. So see, now discrete is gone. And all we had was a weird blank line. And I don't think we need either of these, ng-init or ng-on-destroy. So I'm just going to get rid of both of those. And then get rid of this implements. And do we need router module? Let me hit save and just make sure everything still works. Yeah, everything still works. I don't know why we have the router module installed here. I'm going to get rid of it and see if anything breaks. And hit save. Okay, so it doesn't look like, oh, here we go. Okay, so we don't need this. So this will make the, so these extra, like if we check this stuff in and we were looking back and trying to debug in the future, these extra commits of these things that don't do anything are a huge distraction. So it's good to get rid of them. So let's do one more trip around. And yeah, we need that stuff. I don't think, it doesn't look like we need effect or inject. So while we're just getting rid of random stuff, we might as well get rid of that. Got some extra spaces there. So that shows a difference. I definitely wouldn't, if that was the only difference, I wouldn't keep it, but, and then routes. And we did learn today that you have to give it something. It'd been nice if you didn't have to give it anything, if it just like, you're just like, hey, these are the paths I care about. Just worry about what's going on up here. Don't worry about loading stuff. But, you know, that's probably a use case they just didn't think of. So anyways, so let's go ahead and add this and get status. And let's see what we got. We got 4 things. Everything seems clean. This is video 23, so git commit -m video 23 adds gets ready for routing and tabs. So, and one thing I did want to mention is in my other web series I had about Three.js, I had this bug that took me like 2 days, 2 sessions. So 2 days, I guess, is kind of, would be like 16 hours, but really it took like an hour and 20 minutes. But it caused a massive bug, and the bug was something that I mentioned in the last video of saying, hey, some linters would actually fail this. It was where I had a function and it had a name of a variable, and then I named the variable the same thing inside. And that actually caused me to have a bug in my other episode that does this. And this is like one of those things, you learn things, right? As a developer, you're going to learn things over your entire career. And then some things that you learn early or in your career end up becoming useless. And you have to learn how to dump that stuff. But then sometimes you learn something that's really valuable, like in this case, you know, learning to try to name everything uniquely at lower scopes. So I wanted to, I've learned that, and then I just was just kind of like, does it really matter? And then I ended up causing a lot of bugs, and so that is kind of how you test if the things that you have are still doing from sort of past experiences are still useful or not. You have to test those things. You can't just keep on doing the things that you learned early in your career because things change. Like the classic one I can always think of is when JavaScript first came out. When I first started working with JavaScript, it did not have very many. The array didn't have like any way to add new variables or new values to an array. So you basically what you always did is you said the name of the array, you put brackets, and then you said in its uh, the array name dot length, which if you think about it, like if the array name's length is 5, that means the next available index is 5, and then that's how you assign things. And I remember, doing that years after like shift and push and all those new things. I was doing that years later, and I remember new developers were just like, "You're weird. I mean, that's really weird that you do it this way." And that was sort of a styling thing, not that big of a deal. But like you can hang on to old things that made sense in the past that don't make sense anymore. So that's something you always have to be on the lookout for. But sometimes the things that you learned in the past actually do end up being valuable, and but you still end up testing them, and then the minute you see that it's still valuable, you got to re add that back into your life. Anyways, that's my advice. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.